Hi Chewies, it's Subs Week here on Pagan Perspective and I'm your Tuesday host Arienda Ravenheart. This week we are discussing managing and directing studies within paganism and the craft. Before we get started, I would like to point out that I am sat on the floor next to my radiator because I am home for Christmas. There was nowhere decent that I could sit down to record this video and it's freezing cold, so I'm sat next to the radiator with the hope that I will actually be warm by the end of this video. And I've also been joined by my cat because obviously as soon as there is a lap available to sit in, you can guarantee that she will be in your lap. So this week's question has been sent in by Russman74X, who says that he is new to paganism and he started out as solitary eclectic, but he's recently got into things such as traditional craft, chaos magic, and he's trying to find his own interests and his own personal path, and asks how he should manage his studies or direct his studies. So this is quite an interesting topic, really, because it's something that I often struggle with myself. I'm not a very managed person. I'm not a very well organised person. Unfortunately, that isn't really something that you can afford to be as a degree student. So I have really been bucking myself up recently, and I've been keeping actually one of those yearly planners, and that actually has been an invaluable tool to me. Just being able to keep track of where you're supposed to be, when you're supposed to be there, and then you can make time for things, and just constantly these little things that pop up like, oh, you ran out of milk this morning, you need to get that on your way to your lectures. You can just write these things down, and then I know that I'm never going to be lost again. And I haven't been anywhere without that tool since I bought it, basically. So get yourself a daily year planner so that you can write down, you know, what you've got to be and when you're going to be free. Free time and organising a regular slot of free time is quite important, because that makes sure that you're going to be doing a little bit of something every day or every week at least, and it's normally helpful. Apparently it works for some people but not for me personally, but apparently if you stick to the same time each day or the same day each week for doing a particular kind of thing, such as studying traditional magic or chaos magic, if you said, like, you know, every Wednesday afternoons I don't normally have anything to do, so I will devote that time to reading books on paganism and the craft, or to going online and studying this, and I will do that every Wednesday afternoon. Or for instance, if you say I've got an hour each evening where I'm not normally doing anything, I'll read a book for a bit and then make some notes. So something like that. With this kind of topic, it's just like studying for anything else. It's like studying for an exam, studying for a course, or anything like that. It's exactly the same. You need to timetable yourself free time, and you need to say that this time is my studying time. However, that does generally contradict your mood, your feelings and your situation and that sort of thing. Sometimes something else comes up, like, oh, so-and-so is coming to visit this evening, so you won't be available to do your normal study slot that afternoon. That's especially true at this time of year, because I can't believe how crazy it has been since I got home with all of this Christmas stuff going on, and people just showing up unexpected and having to accommodate things, and things going horribly wrong, like my computer crashing like as soon as I got home for Christmas. That's been in the shop for about a week now. We've still not heard anything, so I'm trying to use this laptop that hasn't been working forever, which is why I've been completely absent from my channel for the last 2 weeks as well. So yeah, back to the point. So, you know, it doesn't always work to timetable yourself regular times, and you have to pay attention to your physical condition as well. If you sit down to study because you've got an hour free, for instance, and you're tired and you're cold and you're hungry and there's like a million and one other things playing on your mind, any studying that you do in that time is going to be pointless, because you won't be taking any information in, you won't remember any of it, and you'll just be completely distracted from reading the words in the first place. So you need to make sure that if you do pick a regular slot of time, it's a time in the day where you're normally in a good mood as well, where you're normally like taken care of. For instance, just after lunch, or even on your lunch break, you know, sit down with a cup of tea and a sandwich or something, and then just have a read through a book, because that way you're perfectly content, reasonably relaxed, and there's nothing else on your mind. It's just, a relaxing time for you where you can simply put your studies in front of you and get on with it. The other thing that I will say is that part of finding your personal path, part of finding your craft, is the actual practicing of it, because there is no point in reading a bunch of books and doing what somebody else tells you to do. There's no point in copying down hundreds of spells that you've not actually tried because they might not work for you, writing down correspondences that don't mean anything to you, and that sort of thing. So instead of just reading and writing notes down, instead of just reading a bunch of books that you don't like the author of, you think they're a bit, too wishy-washy, if anybody's telling you something that you disagree with completely, put that book down, leave it alone, come back to it another time, and read a different person's opinion on that. If you don't like it, if it doesn't mean anything to you, ignore it completely, or change it a little bit so it suits you, and practice what is actually written. For instance, if you're reading about traditional craft, write down a traditional craft ritual or a traditional craft spell and try that out for yourself. See what results you get. Did you connect to those energies? Did you feel comfortable going through the motions? If you've got a chaos magic spell that you want to try out, write that down. Go and practice it. Did you connect with it? Did you achieve what it was that you wanted to achieve? And that sort of thing. So you do have to have a lot of experience with it as well. It's not just about writing down tons and tons of information. Filter it out through experience. Try these things out. If you like it, if it's personally interesting, if it makes you comfortable, then keep that. Write that down in your own personal book of shadows, or make footnotes, for instance, or even just stick a little sticky tab in the page of that book, so you know that if you want to, you can come back to that because you liked that ritual or you liked that spell, and then you'll be able to get back to it quite quickly. So make sure you've got yourself a regular slot of time if you can. Pay attention to your physical condition, because if your body is thinking about something else, then there's no way your mind will be able to concentrate. And actually practice some of these things so you can find out what works best for you. As far as that goes, that's the best advice that I can give you. The other thing that I will say is, don't try to think, I'll sit down and learn everything there is to learn about runes now, because you often get very bored, very sidetracked, and then you just start to think of it as a chore. You just start to think, oh, I'm so sick of learning about runes. So do a little bit of everything at the same time. So learn one day, 1 week, you can, for instance, you could be looking into traditional craft. The next week, look a little bit into chaos magic. The next week, look into something a little bit different. Do runes, do tarot. Anything that it is that you want to particularly cover, do little bits at a time, and don't try to learn everything about one subject all in once, because it will feel like a chore to you, it will feel like work, and it will really put you off of it, and it might be something that's very interesting or very useful for you that you just don't ever want to see again as long as you live, because you've had it up to here. So, just pick through things, learn little bits of different things, and make notes of the things that work for you personally, because at the end of the day, it's your craft and no one's expecting anything from you except you finding something that works entirely personal to you. So I hope this has been helpful to you, and I hope that you have lots of fun learning about all of the different parts of paganism that you're looking into at the moment, and may you all blessed be.